I wanted to share my perspective as a UX person at Orcasound, and I really wanted to talk about what we've done in the past on the UX side of things, and talk a little bit about where we could go in 2025. Combining our UX efforts with cross-functional team members like dev, data science. I think we've done a fairly good job at that, but we could always do better. So I wanted to start that conversation. So the agenda for this talk that I'm doing, I'm going to start with a little bit of the current state of the UX hiring market, and how tough it's been last really 2+ years. Then I'll go briefly over the history of the UX team, starting with its inception in 2020 till now, and then I'll share a bit of a background on each Orcasound product, as I call them. So like Orcasite, Orcahome, Orcalearn. You'll learn more about those as well. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have a little bit of time for discussion. Although near the end of the summit today, we'll have lots of time for discussion. So maybe we can get that UX discussion started right now and then continue that near the end of the day. So, all right, hopefully this works. This clip is from a talk that a user experience researcher at Meta named Eniola did in early 2024. And what she says, in the early part of 2024 is still true now in the early part of 2025.
You'll hear me say this a lot, and this probably could have been the title of the webinar, but good research just isn't enough anymore. And as we think about all the changes that have happened in 2024, good research is great, but it's not enough, and it's not what folks are expecting from UXRs anymore. It doesn't meet the bar. What's needed on top of the good research skills and really good strategy is how can you go from the insight that you've gathered to impact? What does that journey look like? And what is your role in taking a product team from here are the things that we should do in order to build a better product? And then this is how it's going to impact our bottom line, or this is how it's going to help us move this metric that we're going on, or this is how it's going to help us meet this objective that we have organization-wide.
Okay, hopefully you heard that. Okay, it wasn't super clear. But what she's basically saying is to get a job in UX, we can't just say, hey, I know how to run, this type of UX study. We have to, as a UX person, make an impact on an organization. And so I've been pushing really hard to get my UX work done and other volunteers, their UX work, to have an impact at Orcasound. And so that's been my focus in 2023 and 2024 after I got laid off from my last role, and that's going to be my focus in 2025. And so what I want to do is understand how UX can better work with our cross-functional team members, with dev, data science, like I mentioned before. And I think we can do a better job of that. I want to say that the motivation for my involvement with Orcasound is twofold. One is to work on a Tech for Good project, or organization that makes the world a better place. And I think Orcasound is a perfect definition of that Tech for Good project or organization. But I'm also doing this for my professional growth, right? And so I can put things in my portfolio, and LinkedIn and resume and all that fun stuff, and talk about it during interviews. And so, like Eniola said, I have to make impact at Orcasound, right? In order for my time to be worth it in a sense, right? Professionally speaking, as part of my job search. So that's not only my goal, but I know that that's the goal of a lot of other UX volunteers at Orcasound. And so, yeah, we do want to work on better working with everyone in this room and everyone at Orcasound all across the world. So I just wanted to highlight that and bring that up because that is important as part of our involvement in Orcasound. And I know I've talked about that before, so thanks for bearing with me. Okay, so now let's go into the history of the UX team. I'll do a brief history here. I joined Orcasound as a contributor in January of 2020 at the Hacky New Year Hackathon that Democracy Lab ran. By spring and the start of the pandemic, I decided that there was more work than I could do all by myself, so I formed the UX team. It started as a rotating membership of 8 to 12 people, and we focused on the WordPress site, now called Orcahome, and the listing web app, now called Orcasite. You've heard those terms before, and I'll talk about them in more detail in a bit here. I and others ran UX research studies, and designers redesigned both Orcahome and Orcasite. A separate UX team for Ship Noise was formed in 2021 by Rick and Kristen. And everyone in this room knows who they are, and we all love them, right? All right. At the end of 2022, I decided to scale the UX team to multiple project teams, more products. So, Orcahome, Orcasite, Orcalearn, notifications, etc. Were envisioned based on talks I had with Scott and others at Orcasound. UX work exploded. At the height, we had 9 active project teams. As you can see them all listed here. I won't list them out for you, but you can read those. My next slides will cover details about each product and my vision for them. I've shared my vision for a few of these products with some of you before, so please, again, bear with me if you've heard what I'm saying. Orcasound is turning into a system of different tools for orca conservation, and I'm hoping that you'll see how everything is connected. And everyone in this room completely understands that, I know. So I wanted to talk about Orcahome first. This is also the WordPress site for those who are unfamiliar with that terminology, and it's content oriented, right? There's lots of learning content, blog posts, things like that. In 2020 and 2021, I ran a card sort study that redefined the sitemap based on user data. Orcahome was redesigned in Figma based on the card sort study, as well as the persona development study that I ran around the same time. Zarima ran a usability testing study to gather user feedback on the redesign. It was coded by front-end dev Isabella and other volunteers as a result of the Google Summer of Code, or GSOC, program Orcasound participated in. Pull requests were submitted for approval. In 2023 and 2024, UX team member Rafa ran an internal card sort study, and his team redesigned the redesign. Then the team redesigned again. So lots of redesigning going on for Orcahome. I led efforts to redesign specific pages, of note the Hall of Fame and donation pages, among others. So there's also a new redesigned call catalog that I'm really proud of. I didn't do the design work for, but I think Sarah did that. So my vision for Orcahome is to deploy a new version of the website. We've talked about keeping it in WordPress or using a headless CMS. I'd like to deploy a version as close to the Figma file as possible. I'd then like to deploy Rafa's redesign #1 a year later, and then redesign #2 a year after that. Running benchmark studies to understand user engagement that will inspire interview and usability studies to iterate designs would be also my recommendation. So I totally understand that design is a bit stale at this point. A lot of the user research and design work have gone, into Orcahome, and I would love to see, that work that's been previously done, see some impact from that work. So definitely open to discussions, but I just wanted to share my vision for Orcahome, as well as everything else I'll talk about. I will be talking about, I think, 8 more products, so strap in. All right, I did want to give a quick demo of the work that Isabella and other GSOC students and other dev contributors did. This certainly isn't complete, but I think it looks really great. It's a definite change in design over the WordPress site, and we'll see how, so some of this isn't finished, but as you can see, I think, well, yeah, this is all broken. This all needs work, but yeah, I really think this design is really helpful. It's similar in some respects to the WordPress site, but includes some functionality and visual cues that that are improved. So anyway, quick demo. More work to be done there. All right, so now I want to talk about Orcasite, or the listening web app. Orcasite and Orca Home, I believe, were coined by Paul. Is that correct?
Yeah, Orcasite was, but
Okay. Scanner and Paul.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give both of you credit for that. So this is, Orcasite is kind of what people, like our users, think of when they think of Orcasound. This is, the listening web app where people can stream hydrophones. I did run a usability study on what I called version 2 back in 2020. So this was prior to the map interface that we have now. The findings from that study, as well as the persona development study I ran that same year, resulted in a redesign by Catherine and Karina, and that was the map interface. And we had 2 UX research teams run usability studies for that map redesign, one for desktop, one for mobile. I ran and moderated the desktop study team, and Juliet ran the mobile study team. In 2024, Daria became the Orcasite team lead and championed design based on user feedback. We're working with Paul and Skander, the devs. As far as I understand it, the Orcasite UX team is no longer active. Is that true as far as on the UX side?
Yeah, I mean, there are UX contributors, but I don't think there's like a call.
Like a formal team.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the UX person that shows up to all the Orcasite meetings.
Yeah.
Some
All right.
slides in here about what I've been working on.
Yep.
as far as Orcasite.
For sure, yeah. So Adrian is an amazing team of one, we'll say.
Yeah, but everyone's welcome to join like the regular calls we have for all
Yeah.
the roles. Like it's just
Yep.
for Orcasite specific.
Yep.
They show up and do it in the meeting. Invitation.
I haven't heard from Daria since
Yeah,
September or so.
she did RSVP for the summit, so maybe she's listening right now. Hopefully she is. Shout out to Daria, she did great work. My vision for Orcasite is to integrate more features of the UX design in Figma that Karina and Catherine initially did a few years ago to the deployed version of Orcasite. And I'll show that on the next screen here. For future releases of features, usability studies could be run to understand what features need to be iterated, removed, or new features added. So I know I've talked about this before, but on the left here, you can see the Figma design of Orcasite, and you can see what has been deployed. There are some similarities here, but there's also a lot of differences. And this is just a representative screenshot of one page. There's many other pages that have similarities and differences as well. I think because this was user tested and there's a lot of great features here, I would like to see greater parity between what was designed and what is deployed. And I know Paul and I have had conversations about this, and there are certainly design and technical limitations to translating the Figma to deployment. But I do think with some user testing and working closely with dev, we can figure out which of these features over here should be deployed into deployment, sent to deployment, whatever. So yeah, happy to entertain a conversation about this a little later today, but I just wanted to bring that up and talk about this with the community, the Orcasound community in general. All right, so Adrian, I think the next 2 slides you did, if you want to come up and talk through your contributions on the Orcasite side.
Yeah. I guess thanks for the comments. I don't like to present myself as a UX team of one. I think of myself as working hard to be as collaborative as I can be. And in this case, I have led these 4 workshops, which I'm doing as a way to kind of create a kind of a collaborative working relationship between the stakeholders, meaning the devs and the scientists, and the UX design. And so there was one in April. It was just me, Scott, and Brendan at the Democracy Lab hackathon, and we basically had the whole day to kind of do this workshop. And I have we're going to do this workshop again today. So the next thing that we did was we did a user bullseye canvas where we looked kind of more in detail at all the different nuanced kind of ways of the users modes users can be in. There's kind of this idea of a very new user who doesn't know anything about the project, and then it kind of that person listens a little more. That person might become an active listener. They might become a community scientist who's making detections. At this end, we've got our kind of professional researchers and scientists, and then we identified this kind of middle space here for a moderator who is someone who is not necessarily a PhD researcher, but who has greater privileges in the app to make decisions about the data and how it's tagged and how it's how to send notifications, actually, very importantly. So that's a kind of a trusted person there. And then we dug in a little more. We did a little voting to talk about the which personas, which parts of this continuum of people we're most interested in designing for or understanding more. We kind of landed on this community scientist person, this person who's out there making detection, listening to streams, making detections, this moderator person, and then finally kind of a someone who's not necessarily making detections, but is eager to help in some way, to join a conservation effort, and is involved in the Orcasound community at that level. So we haven't quite got to that person yet, but the ones we did run were we did a deep dive persona canvas exercise about the community scientist, and another one about the moderator. And then since those, I have been inspired to think about kind of a unified vision of the whole Orcasound project condensed into one app. So this is an exercise to bring all these different ways of looking at the data and all the data that's available, and all the actions that we want, that we've envisioned people doing. So this, for example, this map view incorporates Acacia sightings. This is a now playing live stream player that pops up from this drawer, similar to like a podcast or a Spotify app. We've brought in the comment feed, which is the reports that Paul showed earlier. We're looking at, this is a data visualization that actually shows up in Scander's Bouts interface, where you're looking at the last hour, but I have a drop down to change that to longer time periods. This is a stream selector, so you can select the different streams. These are the recordings that are contained within each, or that are captured from the streams. This is a page dedicated to each hydrophone. There's more data about the hydrophone, including one where you're able to learn more about the different species that have been captured at that hydrophone, which depends on the tagging. This is a page dedicated to about recording, where you can see the keywords, potentially some clips that are pulled out of that about recording. This is a audio, kind of a audio editing interface where you're able to look at the recording, scroll through the spectrogram, see the comments that have been left or annotations, if you like. Here is a clip editor where you can pull this up and select some bounds for that clip that gets stored here. And then finally, there's a kind of a community message posting board here where you can look at different activities that are happening, as well as some filters, some map layers, and some data visualizations that are included there. So those are all screens that I've created. I have this as in an interactive Figma that I'm happy to user test with anyone who'd like to participate in that.
Awesome.
So.
Impressive. All right, so I did not mean to say that you were a team of one. I was kind of making a joke there, but
I
yeah.
got a job rejection one time where they say, seems like a team of one. I'm sensitive. I'm a little sensitive.
Yeah. Yeah, as we can see, you're very collaborative. So yeah, appreciate that. And these are, great. It's the first time I've seen these designs. And nice work. Yeah,
I
it's
try to
great.
show them, I've been trying to present them and demo them at either the weekly stand-ups or at the Orcasound stand-ups. With the time allowing.
Cool. Awesome. So we are a little bit over time. I'll go as quickly as I can. We might just hold off the discussion until toward the end of the day. But yeah, I just want to get through this content. The next product I want to talk about is OrcaLearn. So I formed the OrcaLearn UX team after having conversations with Scott about the need to teach concerned citizen scientists how to identify Southern resident calls as part of training the Orca Hello AI platform. I think I got that right. Close enough. All right, cool. An interview study was run and existing content from the Learn page on Orca Home was used to design this new web app. I was not involved in the design, but some other volunteers were. Sorry, I've forgotten who they were, but thank you for your work. It was user tested in 2023 and 2024. In 2024, I made a big push to get OrcaLearn deployed, but my efforts were not successful last year. The UX team, I believe, is no longer active, and I have not heard from anyone working on OrcaLearn recently. So my vision for OrcaLearn is to do some design work and break deployment into 2 releases. One would be the teaching of Southern resident calls to a persona like concerned citizen scientist. The second would be the testing of recognition of those calls by people who have learned how to recognize them, right? So teach and then evaluate knowledge there. Each release would be user tested before deployment. Additional features and educational content could be added over time, and a roadmap could be envisioned. The next product I want to talk about is Ship Noise, and that was the result of Scott's vision to use our resources, such as the hydrophones in our network. A car show would be another resource that we have available to us to quiet the wires of the sea from the noise that ships make. Rick and Kristen moderated subject matter expert interviews in 2021. It was decided to focus the first solution on commercial ships. I took over as team lead of the project in 2024 and ran additional subject matter expert interviews. We as a team synthesized the data and are in the process of building the commercial ship journey map and proto-personas. Recently, we took a field trip to the Marine Exchange of Puget Sound and gathered more important information. We've identified the Marine Exchange as a potential end user of Ship Noise. My vision for Ship Noise is to complete the commercial ship journey map and proto-personas. I'm currently working on that as we speak. I would like to turn an interview study with identified end users based on the data we've collected and synthesized. So I'd like to run an interview study. I'd like to have a solution designed, user tested, and sent to development as soon as possible. Next product I want to talk about is the bioacoustic dashboard. This presents data that visualizes the noise in CHC. We've talked about this already. Some great work has already been done. I did find a project manager. His name was Trey. He did create a project plan in 2023 Then he left Orcasound because he got a job. So that, we love it when that happens. Since then, the dashboard has been developed based on internal feedback and the UX work of Adrian. As you all know, I have not been involved in this project hardly at all. So I'd like to interview potential external users to understand their mental model for this kind of data dashboard. I also like to get the current dashboard in front of Orcasound users, specifically concerned citizen scientists, although other personas identified from Adrian's workshops would be helpful too. The next product I want to talk about is notifications. So right now, signing up to get notified of Orca activity at our hydrophones is via a Google form, and those who have signed up receive an email notification. In 2022 and 2023, Sarah led a UX team to understand user preferences on the type of notifications Orcasound should offer. Designs for a sign-up flow were done in Figma, and this team is no longer active. So my vision is to review the studies that Sarah and her team ran and the designs they did to improve our notification system, to alert users of Orca activity at our hydrophones, and to implement, where it makes sense to update our notification system. This isn't a product, but it's an important part of understanding users, are personas. For those who don't know, personas are fictional characters that represent target users of a product or service, says Google. I ran a persona development study between 2020 and 2021, identifying 3 distinct personas. Since then, I've tried several times to update our personas, first by asking volunteer Dale to run a study, and then when he left, when he got a job, I formed a team. That team is no longer active and the work is unfinished. My vision for Orcasound personas is to follow the methodology as described in the Persona Lifecycle book, and then socialize those personas across Orcasound to influence UX and dev work. I will say that the persona work that Adrian has been doing internally with you all is part of that persona lifecycle methodology that's described. So he's doing some of my work for me, which I appreciate. And yeah, I'd love to join in and help out with that effort as we move forward in 2025. Okay, global navigation. I think it's really important that Orcasound navigation is consistent throughout the entire experience or the entire website. Right now, the navigation headers and footers in the WordPress site and the listing web app are different, and that causes confusion for our users. To that end, I created a UX team to focus on making a global header and footer navigation bar. Trey did an excellent job designing those nav bars, and I ran a usability study to test his designs. Currently, they are ready for deployment, but can't be implemented until we decide how to deploy Orca Home. My vision is to implement the redesigned header and footer navigation bars when Orca Home is deployed.